morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Fox News at 10. I'm Natasha Chugtai. An emotional day for family and friends of the victims in a deadly car crash earlier this year. Matthew Elmers, the man who drove drunk and killed 4 people and injured a child, changed his plea to guilty today and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Laura Rios reports.
In court Tuesday, a tearful Matthew Elmers admitted he drove drunk, ran a red light, and crashed into an SUV one January night. Nima Jiba, Connie and Josiah Vermelia, and Heather Mulgrave were killed. Heather's son Jacoby was seriously injured. Elmers will spend the next 20 years in prison. For the victim's family and friends, no sentence is long enough. Before the sentencing, Nima Jiba's mother told Elmers, quote, "Although there is a date you can look forward to when society considers your debt paid, my sentence is to suffer for the rest of my life. I will never again see Nima. I will never see her dressed up for her high school prom or graduation. I will never see her walk down the aisle." Connie Vermelia's best friend told me by phone,
"I'm really torn about that. I have what he took from me, I can't get back in 20 years. What he took from Connie's grandfather, who was her closest family member, he can't get back in 20 years."
Before he was sentenced, Elmers said he intends to educate people about the consequences of drinking and driving. He said, quote, "I believe I have found a purpose. I can't let these people die in vain. I have to do everything possible to prevent this from happening again." He turned to face the victim's family and friends and apologized. In Eugene, I'm Laura Rios.
Elmers faced a maximum sentence of nearly 46 years in prison if he served the sentences consecutively. Instead, Judge Billings sentenced Elmers to 20 years in prison, allowing him to serve some of them at the same time. He's not eligible for early release. Another gorgeous sunny day out there today, but what about the weekend? Seth's here with the first check. Seth?
The heat is on starting tomorrow, and as we wrap up the work week, head into the weekend. Again, lots of sunshine for your 4th of July. Right now, it's 66 in Eugene, 75 Roseburg, 54 in Coos Bay and North Bend. Same in Newport with low 70s in Bend and Redmond. Look at tomorrow's outlook. 50 degrees by 6 in the morning, 76 at noon, and 85 balmy degrees by 3 p.m. In the 90s tomorrow, that'll continue through the 4th of July. More on that coming up in just a few minutes.
Police arrested a man they say stabbed a woman in downtown Eugene last night. Robert Hyason now faces assault charges. Police say Hyason threw a knife at the victim after she said she did not have a cigarette to give him. The victim was hurt but is expected to recover. Police say a man robbed the Summit Bank downtown early this afternoon. They're looking for a white man in his 40s or 50s with a slender build. He has black curly hair covered by a black baseball hat with Summit Racing written in white. He also has a long white goatee. Your bank might be raising rates for services or hiking up interest costs. Alyssa Harrington reports.
Nancy Wilson is a retired accountant with a near-perfect credit score of 800. But these days, she's scouring the internet looking for a job after Chase raised her credit card fees from $286 a month to $750.
I think it's a hard hit.
Chase and other credit card companies are hiking interest rates or changing their terms. Nancy's interest went from 3.99 to 6%.
Chase wants to make a big impression in the state, and here I've been a customer for over 20 years, and they turned around and tell me, "Tough lady," when I tell them this takes my Social Security check.
Nancy isn't alone. Steve Palmer of Eugene says his rates go up in August. He says the notice came on a flyer that looked more like bulk mail.
Normally I wouldn't even bother to read that, but as soon as I read it, it's a time bomb. It's a time bomb. Don't they understand that, a great number of the people carrying their cards are barely scraping by?
Bankers say this is an industry-wide trend. They're charging people more to make up for loans that have gone into default. But both Nancy and Steve say their Chase payments shot up for no apparent reason.
Shame on them. What good does it do them in a time like this when everybody should be concerned about what they can do to help? It's what can I get?
Both have been making calls to try and change their rates, but want to let others know what might be waiting for them out in the mailbox.
Be aware, because come August, you're going to get a bill that's going to knock your socks off.
But if you have a Chase card, you may want to contact your customer service
Now, Nancy actually was able to get her payments back to $286, but they did still raise her interest rates. In the newsroom, I'm Alyssa Harrington. Natasha?
So, Alyssa, are banks really allowed to even do that?
Well, Natasha, the credit card holder's Bill of Rights doesn't go into effect till February of next year, and then companies won't be able to raise rates without warning. Live in the newsroom, I'm Alyssa Harrington. Back to you.
Thanks, Alyssa. The office where University of Oregon President Dave Frohnmeyer served is now all boxed up. Today was the president's final day on the job, retiring after 15 years. And to mark the occasion, Frohnmeyer was met with a round of applause from friends and colleagues.
If we'd started at the beginning and said at the end it was going to be this much different, I frankly wouldn't have believed it was even possible. Budget cuts, recessions, all of that has not gotten in the way of a larger vision of what we should be as a university and how we should build to keep getting better.
Frohnmeyer will spend the next few weeks working for the Oregon University system. The state capitol is quieter today after the 2009 legislative session adjourned for the year last night. Here are some of the highlights of the session. The hospital and insurance taxes will extend health care coverage to 80,000 uninsured children and 35,000 low-income adults in Oregon. Health advocates also scored a victory on the last day of the session in a law that will phase out most field burning. The law will end almost all field burning by next summer. Testimony in the manslaughter trial of Carl and Raylene Worthington began this morning. They stand accused of letting their 15-month-old die from treatable pneumonia. Tom Jensen reports.
Please take the stand.
The Worthington home was a lot like many death investigator Jeff Mayer says he visited in his 11 years with the Clackamas County Medical Examiner's Office.
There was a large number of church members at the house. This is not atypical. This is customary when we respond to deaths within the church.
Mayer testified he established a working relationship with the Followers of Christ elders after responding to death investigations at their homes over his tenure. He says on March 2nd last year, he made his way through a crowd of about 200 followers at the Worthington home after an elder called and said 15-month-old Ava Worthington was dead.
I saw Ava lying on the bed.
Mayer says Ava appeared jaundiced, and he noticed something else.
The first thing that was significant to me was a large growth on the right side of her neck. I estimated it to be the approximate size of a baseball.
And next to the bed, he took pictures of something he says he sees often at followers' homes after someone dies.
There was a baby bottle on the TV tray that contained a red liquid.
A liquid he believes was wine, and next to that, olive oil. Two components church insiders tell K2 that are used as followers pray over and anoint their sick and injured instead of calling a doctor.
But just so we're clear, if she's lying down on the ground like this, and the right side of her neck is close to the floor.
But in cross-examination, defense attorney Mark Kogan questioned Mayer's investigative methods. And Mayer admitted Ava's death report showed there was nothing unnatural about the way she died.
And I've circled in the lower left corner, manner of death, and in this case, natural.
That was Tom Jensen reporting. The death investigator said all the 200 people present at the Worthingtons' home, not one person told him they thought Carl and Raylene Worthington were neglecting Ava or any of their children. A fire at an Ohio bar has a link to the death of Michael Jackson. Officers say the woman in this surveillance video, Amanda Jarvis, set the women's restroom on fire at an Ohio bar. Police say Jarvis admitted to going in the women's restroom and setting the trash can, paper towel dispenser, and toilet paper ablaze. Police and the bar owner caught her, and she says the fire was because of Jackson's death.
The reason is a little while back her apartment was on fire, plus the death of Michael Jackson had her stressed out.
So what better way to take out your stress?
Yes, let's go burn the town down. Michael Jackson died.
Jarvis was not arrested and has not been charged. A California inventor comes up with an idea to keep women's purses safe while they shop. Vern Jones spent more than 2 decades working in the grocery business, and more than once he saw women put their